word, but y'all get the point. So when you're creating this church and you're the body, you're the person who created it and is going to manifest what you want from it. So it's not wrong for you to do this. This stuff has been done for thousands of years. It's just lost information or mistaught information, because this church wants you to be their member and give them tithes to keep them in business. Remember, everything's a business. Even your local church. It's a business. Without you, there is no business for them to have. That building won't stay open without your participation. So that's what a church is. Let's go back. And then what is a nonprofit? Shit. A nonprofit organization is a group organized for purposes other than generating profit and in which no part of the organization's income is distributed to its members, directors, or officers. Nonprofit corporations are often termed non-stock corporations. They can take the form of a corporation. Of course, we're going to be doing unincorporated associations because you don't want to incorporate anything into their system. You want to be totally separate. And then it says they can take on the form of a corporation, an individual enterprise, for example, individual charitable contributions, unincorporated associations, partnerships, foundations, distinguished by its endowment by a founder. It takes the form of trusteeship or condominium. These are all of the things that can be considered a nonprofit. Think. Nonprofit organizations include churches, public schools, public charities, public clinic. So most of the entities and some governmental agencies. So most of the things you're dealing with out there are all nonprofit organizations, right? So your local county is a nonprofit organization. Why? Because they don't distribute any monies to their members. This is what it says. Income, no part of the organization's income is distributed to its members, directors, or officers. But if you're employed by the nonprofit, unincorporated association, then you can get paid. So they employ people to distribute all of the money that they're taking in. That's how they get around. You don't become a member. You get it. You get money distributed to you by way of employment. So in order to pay their people and pay everybody that they got, like their judges and the police and all of that, they got to generate income. They got to create traffic stops to keep those people employed. See, now y'all starting to see how this all works. They're setting up a nonprofit where they're tax exempt, but how they're getting the money to come back to them is by way of employment. So there you have it on that. Anybody got any questions? No. Okay, let's move on. All right. What is an unincorporated association? An unincorporated association is defined as an association of two or more persons formed for some religious, educational, charitable, social, or other non-commercial purpose. Now, when they say two or more purposes, we all know that a person is a trust or a company. So I can create a trust and make it a member of my association. Now I have two or more. Now I have an unincorporated association. So that would be me becoming a member. being a member and my trust or any entity that I create. So a member doesn't have to be what they define as a natural person. Okay. What's the benefits of having an incorporation association? You don't have to pay the costs associated with an incorporation. I'm going to take you to a place where it's only costs $10 to set one up. $10. Extra $5 if you want the certified copy of it. That's all it's going to cost. You don't have to comply with many of the legal or financial requirements of corporations or associations. Churches, temples, synagogues, mosques are tax exempt. All of these are tax exempt. How to set up an unincorporated religious association, church, synagogue, temple, or mosque. I have to put that in there because some people get confused. Well, is it church this and that? You record the name of your church at the county level at the Register of Deeds. Okay? You go to the Register of Deeds and you record it. Let me see. See if I can pull that up for you. An example of that. That was one of the things I forgot to get ready on my screen. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull mine up. Okay, there it is. Website. 1 second. Okay. Register of Deeds. I'll share my screen in a second. Somebody got something to say? Hello? Oh, I guess they were just talking. You know, they always make these things looking up. I find it hard to navigate sometimes. Okay, no. I just, all right, what the heck is this? Okay. Let's see if this will get me where I need to go. All right, here we go. All right. Of course, they're not giving me mine. Let's see. For some reason, when I put in, okay, there it is. Search. Okay, here we go. We got all these barbers in here, but not me. Showing up. I think I want. Well, basically, in North Carolina, how you would file yours is you would have to do a certificate of. Johnny keep getting kicked out. Johnny, you all right in there, bro? Um, you would have to do what you call a certificate of assumed name, right? That's in North Carolina. So, because I want you to register your church in the state you live in, then I want you to go to California and get their uh, certificate for nonprofit because you can use that everywhere. So you go down to your county and you find out how to register your certificate of assumed name. Some people called it a DBA, doing business as. This is the only time I endorse the DBA, when you're doing it as your church, right? I'm still trying to figure out how to find my index Let me see. Let me do it this way. Oh, you know what? They had made it where you can look it up in North Carolina Secretary of State. They changed that. I forgot. Just look up your certificates in North Carolina. Okay. I need to file see business entity search. Searching for assume name, business names, into assume name owner. All search. There we go. All right. Let me share the screen. I made that more difficult than it had to be. There it is. See, you can see all of the ones I have registered. Akiem Barber Church, Church of Infinite Abundance. And you see my son got his business stuff done here too. So this is my filing, Akiem Barber Church. I did this back in February 25th, 2021. And here's the names that own it. Here's the owners. Akiem Barber Family Trust and Akiem Barber Trust. These are the owners of that. The Illegus does not own these things. This is how I got it set up. So that's how I want you to set it up. Set your owner of all of these entities as another entity that gives you separation. Okay, make sure these other, because now once you connect all of these things to your trust, now you have religious affiliation, or what they call an association of churches. Something is a term they use in IRS. All right. Let me see if I can pull up the actual filing so you can see it. All right, let me share this. Can y'all see that screen? What are y'all looking at right now?
Assume business name.
Certificate. You'll see the whole certificate with all the information with the address on it. Let me see. It looks like y'all looking at it. Yeah.
Yes, we can see that.
Okay. All right. And then I put what type, church, religious assembly. And then I have all the owners of this. Signed it. And then I signed as the trustee of these, of the entity. You could sign as pastor, doesn't matter. It's pastor, administrator, executor. It doesn't matter what you put as the title there. Whatever you feel comfortable with. It doesn't have to be exactly that. Then I no longer live at this address, but that was my physical address there. Okay. That was a physical. So I made the church, both of these churches, the physical address. Now, not every state does, DBAs. Not every state doesn't. So you're going to have to do research in your county to figure out how to get this done. Now, if you can't do it, then you default to using just the one I'm going to show you how to set up in California. So you'll have that, okay? That'll be good enough. But I like to have everything, like if I'm in North Carolina, I want something there on the record. Why? Because now it'll make it easier for you to go and get that tax status from the county level. So you can get if you transfer your property into the church, like your cars, your homes, any property into that you can get tax exemption status. And once you get that tax exemption status, you could take that to your local BJ's and all these places you shop at and say, hey, I'm tax exempt. And you don't have to pay taxes on that level. Now, I know with BJ's, Sam's Club, once you give them let them know what your status is on it, they will give you that. All right. And in North Carolina, I can register up to 5 names at one time for the one-time fee of $26. That's why I love North Carolina. Okay, for that very reason right there. This on that level. Anybody have questions on this, what I just showed you? Or what I am showing you?
I got a question, Akiem. Where you say the assumed business names?
First, let me say who you are.
Oh.
So everybody know who's talking. But go ahead.
All right. This is Will.
Okay, Will, go ahead.
So when you said the 5 assumed business names, each name is, you could be doing business as in each name, correct? Or do you have to put all names?
You can be this okay. This form, if you have 5 different assumed names, you could put up to 5 on this one form for the one fee of $26. So if I had 3 more churches that I wanted to set up here, I could have put them all on this one form.
And you don't have to set up, you don't have to do 3 different forms. You just do one form.
One form did this. I did 2 entities on this one form. I did 2 churches on this one form.
Wow. Okay.
North Carolina, you could do up to 5 entities on one form. Okay. And then I checked off to have that registered in all counties. So this is registered in every county in North Carolina. So now is, what are you going to do? You heard what I had to say? And most of all, let's keep it real. I'm only repeating what you've already said to yourself. That's why you're here. That's why you tune in every week. Yeah, I'm only repeating what you already said to yourself. I'm not saying anything new. I might be saying it in a different way. I might be saying it in a different tone. I might be saying it with some force differently. But for the most part, your spiritual self has been knocking you over the head, telling you, hey, what you doing? Hey, 3 o'clock in the morning, get up. Write that thing, that inspirational thought you had. Write it down. Or go act on it. And what do? You look at that clock, turn over, I'll get it later and go to sleep. Akiem, how you know? How you know? You in my bedroom? You can see us? You spying on us? No. I ain't got to spy on you. I ain't got to know. I know how we are. I know what we really are, and we all operate the same way. We come from the same designer. We come from the same designer who designed us to be spiritual and powerful and divine. And the way we get our inspiration is when everybody's calm down and all the negative energy is subsided. That's when, in the wee hours of the night, is when God can really speak to you and get you in that corner and start to talk to you. That's what happens. How you know I can't? Because it happens to me all the time. And a lot of times I listen, and then sometimes I don't. And I always regret when I don't. And that static are being sacrificed. And that's, if your stuff's not available, they can't hear it. Sometimes you got to feel your way through the dark, and I struggled all the way up into the minute. Peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to all you guys.
This is Hindsight Radio. I represent it, the information station changing the nation.
Peace, prosperity, extreme wealth to everyone. Welcome to another episode of Truth Tuesday with your host, Akiem L. So I was sitting there trying to figure out what I was going to talk about tonight. And I started continuing my reading in this book of Enoch, and I had an epiphany. Hold on a second. It's kind of hot. I had an epiphany about this book, right? So I'm reading it, and the book is basically taking Enoch on a, hold on, let me get this music down. The book is basically showing Enoch things that are to come, like a prophecy, right? Showing all the things. Talks about many things. Talks about the elect. Talked about what happened when the Watchers came down, and he's going to different places around the world, right? I said, this is familiar, very familiar to me. So it hit me, and I prove it to you. This is basically from what I'm reading here in the book of Enoch. Because remember, Enoch was taken away in the Bible, and you hear nothing else. God took him off. And a lot of the theories was God took his life and put him to sleep until it was time for him to be brought back. Those are things I heard as a Jehovah's Witness. Those are things I don't, and there might be some other theories out there, with the other denominations of Christianity you might have. But in this book, it actually tells you what happened to Enoch, right? It says it. It says it specifically. It says it describes exactly what happened to Enoch. He was taken and hidden away because he had a job to do. It says in chapter 12 of this book, it says, before these things, Enoch was hidden, and no one of the children of men knew where he was hidden and where he abode and what had become of him. So now remember, I told you book of Enoch was in the Bible before they took it all out. Right? And his activities had to do with the watches, and his days were with the holy ones. And I, Enoch, was blessing the Lord of majesty and the King of the ages. And lo, the watchers called me, Enoch the scribe, and said to me, Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, go declare to the watchers of the heaven who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place, and have defiled themselves with women, and have done as the children of earth do, and have taken unto themselves wives. Ye have wrought great destruction on the earth, and ye shall have no peace nor forgiveness of sin, and inasmuch as they delight themselves in their children. The murder of their beloved ones shall they see, and over the destruction of their children shall they lament, and shall make supplication unto eternity, but mercy and peace shall ye not attain. And see, and Enoch went and said, Azazel, thou shalt have no peace. A severe sentence has gone forth against thee to put thee in bonds. So I'm reading this, and I said, this is more detailed than something that I'm more familiar with. I don't want to lose my page. Where's my bookmarker? The Book of Revelations. Watch this. Now, we all know, well, y'all may not know, these guys, these characters in the Bible, John, Luke, Matthew, you know those are all pen names, right? Those are not real names. Because, how can these guys have these Englishmen names in a region where they have names like Bartholomew, Judas, all of these other names, and then all of a sudden we got all of these English names, right? So the Revelation, the Book of Revelation says, the revelation of Jesus Christ which God gave him to show his servants what must soon take place. He made it known by sending his angel to his servant John, who testified to the word of God, to the testimony of Jesus Christ, even to all that he saw. And then if you know Revelation, he goes on and he talks about these visions, prophecies, and things that were supposed to take place. Much like the Book of Enoch. So I'm starting to be convinced that the Book of Revelation was inspired by the Book of Enoch. Was inspired, and then they, we know that the book was revised because it says it. All the Bible says this is a revision, new revised standard version. And what is a revision? Meaning you changed something. You revised it. Why does the word of God have to be revised? For what reason? Why does it need to be updated? If we're talking about truth, if this is the word of God, why does man have to go and make changes and revise it? Take books out that they deem, oh, these are not considered God's texts. Because when I read this is way detailed. Then in here it talks about the Son of Man. You know, isn't Jesus Christ referred to as the Son of Man? And the things he's going to be doing. Right here, chapter 46, it says, and there I saw one who had a head of days, and his head was white like wool. So we know we're talking about someone that is of color. We would call them black or African American today. It says, and there I saw. Now that's also in the Bible. They didn't change that. They didn't play with that. Maybe they know something not to. They could do some revisions, but they ain't revising the Son of Man. And with him was another being whose countenance had the appearance of a man, and his face was full of graciousness, like one of the holy angels. And I asked the angel who went with me and showed me all the hidden things concerning that Son of Man, who he was and whence he was and why he went with the head of days. And in this book, y'all got to get this book because it actually breaks down the Lord of Spirits. And this one, they're talking about the head of days. Everybody had their position like a government. And he answered and said unto me, this is the Son of Man who hath righteousness, with whom dwelleth righteousness, and who revealeth all the treasures of that which is hidden. Remember, Christ said his treasure is in heaven, right? That's in the Bible. And these are they who judge the stars of heaven, and raise their hands against the Most High, and tread upon the earth and dwell upon it. And all their deeds manifest unrighteousness, and their power rests upon their riches, and their faith is in the gods of which they have made with their hands. And they deny the name of the Lord of spirits, and they persecute the houses of his congregation, and the faithful who hang upon the name of lords of spirits. And in those days shall have ascended the prayer of the righteous, and the blood of the righteous from the earth before the Lord of spirits. In those days, the holy ones who dwell upon in the heavens shall unite with one voice. This is like reading Revelations. I'm going to stop right there. That's like reading Revelations. When you have read the Bible many times and you start reading things like, wait a minute, this is like reading this and this is that. And that's one thing I when I watched that Cat Williams interview, he said something about religion. He was raised as Jehovah's Witness too. And he said something. He studied all the religions, and he said they all are not disagreeing. They are not disagreeing. They're all basically saying the same thing in different ways, in different contexts. They call, Vedic text, the Torah, and all of these things. The Quran. They're all saying the same thing. They're not arguing with each other. But see, what has happened is when you got media, back in the day before we had television, we had what you call the newspapers. And now we have television programming. And they all have to create a narrative for you to believe in. See, these religious wars that we had over the years all came through propaganda. Someone taking these sacred texts and twisting them to get people to fight amongst each other, to distract them from actually reading and comparing notes. So, because if I can get you to hate Muslim or the Jews or can hate someone, then you would never get to understand where they come from. Because all you want to do is, or all someone wants to do is only relate to what they were raised in, what their belief system was from the time that they was a child. But what has convinced you that that what you know from the day you was born or introduced to these information, what makes you believe that your information is better than the other or superior than the others, that you're right and they're wrong? What makes you so sure? See, that's a big question, because truthfully, most people who claim to be something or belong to some religious organization only belong to it because it was introduced to them through their family. And this is their tradition. Although some people break away from their traditional religious background, I know many people have done that, and they moved on to something else that they feel is better and more suited to what they think is right. But it still doesn't make them right. But guess what? It still doesn't make them wrong. There is no right and there is no wrong. It's only what we believe is right and what we believe is wrong on the individual level. So that's what makes the spiritual journey personal, meaning it has to be what's right within you. And I know that more orthodox believers will disagree with me. No, it's got to be right because God said if you don't do it this way, you're not going to make it. You're not going to survive his judgment. I understand that. I get that. I'm not here to argue that point and say that they're wrong or right. But I do know this. This is what I do know. It's a personal choice. It's a personal journey. Spirituality is something that you have to do on your own without the influence of someone else telling you that that's right or wrong. Because if your life is hanging in the balance on it, you need to really know what you believe is, what you feel like you know what you believe. And not do it just because it's a tradition, just because you're doing it because the family might not talk to you again or might not agree with you. You have to search these things out for yourself. And that's what the whole Christ message was. You have to believe in the higher consciousness of your mind. That's where the truth is. The deepest part of you. That's where God is and where he reveals himself to you. Like I played that little clip. I know most of people's inspiration comes in the wee hours of the morning because that's when you're most relaxed and you're more in a state of mind of receiving the downloads, the spiritual downloads. See, during the day it's hard because you got things to do, distracted by family, work, and then everyone is awake, minds, and whether you want to believe it or not, thoughts are energy and they travel. That's why we have this thing we call vibes. I got a bad vibe from that person. Because they might have been thinking something negative and you picked up on it. It might be in a negative state of being and you picked up on it. See, these are the things we have to tap into, is our spiritual nature, our true nature, that helps us survive and be able to pick up on different energies. We have powers that we are not using. And the reason why we haven't used them, because we have been distracted from birth to look at things and books and read the Bible. Yes, I agree with reading the Bible. I agree with that. But if I'm following the Christ, what did he have a Bible? Did this Bible exist that he could draw off of? The way he lived his life, an example that he provided, created what we're talking about today. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to live our life where if someone was to write about us, they could say, man, that person did some great things for humanity. So basically, you're writing your own Bible, your own scripture by the way you live your life. Now, if you live your life in a way of not seeking truth and living in non-truth, then your scripture is going to be different. It's going to have some things, but we all are creating a record, and it's talked about in this book of Enoch and in Revelation and throughout the Bible that there is some notes being taken, and in some religious or ways of life, they call it karma, which basically means that as you move about your day from moment to moment, you're creating ripples of cause and effect that will have results that you will have to pay back or receive payment. Now, you have to choose what kind of payment you want. You want some good payment or some payment that you don't desire? But you're going to get your payment, and you're going to have to pay it back, whatever it is. You're going to have to pay it back. So, for example, if you're a person who's not living good, treat people wrong, until you go back and correct those deeds, pay it back. And how the best way to pay it back is to recognize, and the Bible calls it repent. Today, the big word is being accountable for your deeds. But no one escapes that. You will not leave this journey in this life or the next or the one after until you pay it back and receive your full payment for everything that you've done. The universe knows how to balance things out. It's called, as I always say, you reap what you sow. And that reaping and that sowing, that karmic debt is on the micro level and it's on the macro. It's big and small. It's happening all the time. Even listening to this broadcast is a form of reaping and sowing. Because I might have said something that might trigger something that you was working on or thinking about. Everything is about what you are going to do on this personal journey. And the more and more I read these books, the more and more I realize I don't need these books. These books are just reaffirming what I already knew, what I already had epiphanies of, what I've already had visions of. They just reaffirm them. But I'm still going to read them. Not that I know these books just point me in one direction. Go within. That's where the unadulterated 100% truth will be. Because when I read it, it's like a reminder. Oh, okay. Like I did a show, I think last year or the year before, and I talked about, hey, it was a mutiny. It was a ship. These are God's sons and daughters rebelling against his rule, and they decided to go on their own, and they came down to this planet. And because we revolve around another universe, because when they came down and they did their thing, that was going on for thousands of years. It was going on for a long time. But here's the kicker. That was going on for a long time, but guess what? As I study the current American history and histories in other countries, and I look at these buildings all over the place that seem to be abandoned, and then they repurposed them and they tore them down. These things that we're talking about, the Tower of Babel, all these things that they gave us, and this is why they had to revise it, to make you get the perception that it was so far away from you. But when I read this, it wasn't that long ago. All of this rain, all of these things that happened came to an end. Y'all have heard about the mud flood. And you see these buildings with half the windows sticking out of the ground. In New York, they're all over the place. I saw them as kids. I remember walking on the street. It was like a hill, and I saw it like, why is that little roundish looking thing sticking out of the ground? And the sidewalk is cutting it off. Why? And no one could explain that to me. Then when I lived in the Bronx, there was fires all over the place. They were burning down all of these ancient buildings. Well, we thought, they said, oh, drug, and on the news, the propaganda was the druggies was getting in there, and they ended up burning. No, they were burning down the history because we were so close to what was going on. In their racist ideologies, they pushed all of the black folks into these places, and they were living in these ancient buildings and didn't even know it. But they had been reprogrammed and reconditioned to believe in the new form of religion, the new age concept of Christianity. Because I remember I showed you in the 100 things about the Negro book, when they showed you all these people wearing these white robes and looked like there was a Ku Klux Klan, but that was actually black people under those robes practicing Christianity, another form. So the more and more I read I come to realize all of these things that they wrote in these books, I would go as far as to say it wasn't even no more than 1,000 to 2,000 years ago when these eras came to an end. Because when you study the conquistadors and what they did, they went around the planet burning down libraries, burning down ancient things. Then you fast forward and you come here, the Army Corps of Engineers were building dams and flooding out ancient civilizations. Y'all do know places like South Carolina, North Carolina, they starting to reveal them. You find, there's a city under the water, but they never show pictures. See, I remember years ago when I first started studying this, and I was studying the Army Corps of Engineers, in the Smithsonian, and they were talking about how they were going to these different places, and they have flooded them out, the whole city, but they referred to them as Native Americans. Now I realize what they were referring to was these ancient civilizations that had the technology that they repurposed, backwards engineer, and they have just put it back in your hands as something new. Your iPhones, your Androids, your computers, your laptops, all this stuff is old technology. This is nothing new. Actually, the stuff they had was way better than what we got right now. See, they doing their repurposing again. They're on their way. And if this doesn't put to it, I don't think they're gonna make it this time. I don't think they're gonna be able to do it this time. Because a lie can only go so far, then it has to be destroyed. Too many people are waking up. This is why you got the big distraction of the gender roles, he, they, and them, and thou, and all of this stuff. Those are all distractions. Because if you notice over the last 5 years, all of these ancient buildings, all this stuff was coming out, and people were revealing, wait a minute, these technologies are not new. So they got to give you these other distractions. So, well, I'm, the whole transgender community and all that. They got to give you that stuff so that you could be upset and inflamed about that instead of paying attention that your truth, your history, where you come from, and what is really going on is right in front of your face. And it's not thousands of years ago, maybe 5, 6 generations back. Go pull out some old photos, very old photos of your relatives, and look at those buildings behind them. Look at what they were wearing. See, they did a big reset on our perception. And if people tell a lie long enough, people begin to accept it. And so when you start to tell the truth, the lie becomes the truth, and the truth becomes the lie. And you're sitting there. Why can't these people see it? It's right in front of them. They can't build. They're not even building buildings like these things you see around the world anymore. They can't. They don't know how. They have not been able to backwards engineer it. Go look at some old photos of when they were building Brooklyn Bridge and all these other buildings. All you see is people sitting around. You don't see them actually building anything. And you got horse and buggies sitting there. Come on. And when I read this here, every chapter I get into, my eyes get opened. Like, I'll be like, okay. The reason why we have the conditions that we have now is because they're trapped. I was about to go into this. This universe revolves around another universe. And where the watchers come from. And when they came down here, they couldn't get back. Some of them were able to get off planet, and some got stuck. And then in here it says that the Lord of Spirits trapped them in certain places on the planet. Trapped some of them. Which they call an abyss. Which is a deep chasm, deep hole that they can't get out of. And there's some places on the planet you can't even venture to, like the ice walls. They won't let you go. Some places you can't fly over. They will take a roundabout route in some places because the truth is there. But see, you won't know this until you start reading and comparing notes, and you start to realize that everything you thought you knew, everything you was taught is quite possibly one big lie. Just imagine that. And then there's some of us that are here that can see through the veil, that can see through the what people would call the matrix. That can't be tricked or fooled into believing, because we're going to vet it and verify. But at the same time, some of us is here, if you read this book, was sent here with the information and to share it in time. To say, hey, put them books down and look around. And one place you need to look is yourself. Because if you really sit down and you meditate. By the way, I found a very effective way to meditate today. I kind of stumbled across this little TikTok, and it said, in order to like really get into meditative state, and it really worked. I tried it. It's been tough for me to get into a meditative state lately, and for a long time it's been like that. But you start off with 13, you breathe in and out 13 times. In and out. Pause. Then breathe in, you do it down. Then you go, then you breathe in and out 8 times. And then you do it again 5 times. Then 3, 2. And then you should be at a state where you could really go into a deep meditation. And it actually worked, because after you're doing all that breath work, it does something. It just kind of forces you into that relaxed state. So the method is sit in a quiet place, in a relaxed place, and you breathe in and out 13 times. I think something with the counting also helps. And then you do 8 times breathing in and out. Then 5. Then 3. Then 2. And at the end of that, you should be ready. Take your time. Don't rush. So I just gave y'all something to do first thing in the morning. I recommend you do it at night and in the morning, but at least do it once a day. Just sometimes it's a challenge. And I know sometimes I say I'm going to just relax. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I have to really force myself into that mode. So we got, who's out there? We got Indie Circle Ministry says peace, my brother. Above and Beyond with Corinne says happy Tuesday. Beth Barber says peace. DJOJ says peace, everyone. Trust for Startups says what's up. A White says peace, Akiem. Peace back to you. C King Bay say peace, everyone. Yaziya Bay say peace. In the Circle Ministry, we are living epistle. I'm not sure if I'm going to say that. We are living epistle. And DJ OJ said, Akiem is cooking tonight. Preach, brother. And Ronnie Davis says, peace, family. Thank you. Yeah. If y'all have a hard time believing what I just said, that all of these events that we talked about that we felt like was thousands of years ago was really not that long ago. Really wasn't. Maybe give 1,000, 2,000 years, maybe. And I think I'm being generous when I say that. I think I'm being generous when I say I think it's a little shorter than that. I think it was. I want to know about the discharge, if we can do home and cars. Yes, we don't call it discharge, we call it recruitment. You could do home and cars. It has actually been done. If you want to know about discharge, go to AkiemL.com. I got a bunch of videos on that. That's where all that information is. AkiemL.com. So what y'all think? What y'all think in the comments? What do y'all think about what I said? I got the Telegram up. If you want to come in and chime in, I'll put it in the comments. Yeah, it's called recoupment. People call it discharge. It's recoupment. You got to create the debt and then recoup it back. That's if you want the details, Akiem.com. And there's a link to the Telegram if you want to join in and talk about what I just. What do you think? What do you think about what I said? Do y'all feel like I'm crazy? Akiem had a heart attack and he done went nuts. He's talking crazy out here. I'm gonna tell y'all what's crazy. What they've been trying to feed y'all all your life. That's crazy. When they try to feed y'all these 9 to 5s, you get up every day and work yourself to death until you retire. And and see, here's the crazy part. You got a small group of people who only have power because the states gave them power, and we give them power by getting these birth certificates and social security numbers, because that's who they represent. They don't represent you. They represent the birth certificates and social security numbers. That's where the money is. And they going down there trying to say, well, we're going to push this retirement age up. Why do they want, think about, why would they want to push the retirement age up? Because they ain't got the money to pay the ones that's about to retire. It's a bunch of people all at the same time about to hit them pockets for that little bit of money that they want to give out. So they know that they're in crisis, and if all these people come in, they're not going to be able to handle the load, so they got to kick the can down the road by raising the age. Y'all understand this is a religious corporation operating for its own benefit and profit, not for yours. They are operating in a way that make you their slave when they're supposed to be the other way around. They're supposed to be working for your best interest. This is what it has turned into. And all because we bowed down. We accepted. We accepted their birth certificates. We accepted their social security card. We accepted their benefits. See how Constitution says something different, but we're acting different. Constitution says we supposed to be in charge, and if we don't like what they're doing, we can get rid of them. We can abolish it and start anew. But they don't teach that in schools, so no one knows they have that power. And now if they knew it, they don't even know what to do with it because they're so programmed to be a servant. We have allowed them to indoctrinate our children into wanting to go be 9 to 5ers, wage earners. Young people today are having a tough time getting into job market because they were like, I got to get up, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to keep doing this. Some of this is not looking good. And it doesn't look good. And it's not good. It's not what God created us to be. I was looking at a clip, and the clip was talking about we're living on a planet that God created at no charge, and all of a sudden we're paying for things. We're paying for basic things that we need: water, shelter, food that can grow out of the ground and we can just eat it ourselves. We don't really need anybody to grow our food. Tend to our cattle, we can do it all ourselves. But they made us believe that all of that was inconvenient. See how perception was swayed when I went 100 years ago. Farming was the thing. Everyone had had their own chickens, their cows, their pigs. all of it, the crops, they had their own. That's what they aspired. When you go to the census, that's all they told. I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer. No one said, hey, I work down at the 7-Eleven. And then the United States came in and switched it up on y'all. We give you these benefits, make it convenient for you. You pay us for this convenience. Now you owe us for your electricity, your lights, shelter. Now you buy a house, you got to pay taxes on the land that they didn't even create. They didn't build this earth. Do that seem right to you? That a group of people could tell you, you got to give me tax money on something they didn't create. They divide up portions and say, you got to pay me, this mine. Huh? And when you look around you, all of this empty land everywhere, it's enough room for it. No one should be homeless. No one should be homeless. If everyone was allowed to be free, because if I could just pitch a tent or build something wherever I put my foot, then I should be able to. But no, that belongs to him. He got 100 acres, and no, you can't have that. See, our ancestors were generous when the settlers came in. Oh yeah, you can have that. We'll be over here. But then they didn't want to just stop there. They had to take. They were given this opportunity to be at peace with everybody, but they didn't like that. They didn't like that. So when I'm reading this book, they're talking about Azazel's children, his offspring, his followers. See, these wicked beings have followers. They have children. Because according to this, they came down and had children. And those children, descendants, are still here today. Those are the ones that are greedy and don't want to share this world with anyone else. They want to take. They want to kill and pillage. Those are the children of the unrighteous. You got to ask yourself which side you want to be on, because there is a side to choose. Remember, you reap what you sow. You think all of this unjustness is going to go unpunished? No. It's going to come down all at once, because everybody has to pay back and everybody has to receive their payment. All right. Somebody said, Yazid Yebes said, you spot on. Ronnie Davis says, true. Seeking Bay says, it makes perfect sense to me, but I've been on this journey with you in hindsight since the beginning. Yeah, you have been, for sure. DJOJ, GJJOJ says, you're speaking facts. The rabbit hole goes deep. What you said Sunday about perception being what they want is a fact. Yeah. They got to have your perception in order to make it real. If y'all remember the Matrix, when Neo was trying to jump that building and he fell and his lip was bleeding, he said, if I get killed in the Matrix, yeah, because your mind believes you're dead. That the commodity, what they're harvesting, is your perception, your mind. They're harvesting that. They are tilling it. They started tilling it and priming it the moment you sent your kids off to public education, the moment you stepped foot inside of a church, the moment you accept a political side, you got harvested. You was being primed. It says, must say, work your fingers to the bone. Exactly. Angel 6 said, no, I believe you. It's of the land. Lots. It said their children will be evil and demonic spirits on the earth. Exactly. They still here. It said this system is built on our ignorance. Absolutely. It's built on our ignorance and it's also built on our unwillingness to seek the truth. Because the Bible made it very clear, seek and you shall find. I know that for a fact because when the moment I asked for the truth and I got it, it all pointed me right back to one place, to my own ignorance. My own belief systems that I had adopted that caused all of my problems. It was me. And once you come to terms and you realize it's me, it's my ignorance, it's my acceptance of these untruths, because when you were children, you rejected it because it didn't make any sense. It's like, that don't make sense. It defied logic. But they say, oh, you're just a child. You don't know any better. You did know better because you were closer to God. You was closer to the truest form of truth. You was the truth because you came out with no feedback. No one was feeding you anything. You knew it. You knew what the truth was. You know, all the stuff they were teaching me, and I was just confused. Makes sense. The angels supposed to be, the depiction of the angels I was getting, there was these all-powerful beings and they came down and had children. That always didn't set right me. Like, okay, wait a minute. These were men. These were just men from another place. Oh. Now, another hidden truth. Another hidden truth. And it's hidden in mythologies. It's hidden in your African gods. It's hidden in your Hindu gods. It's hidden in and they're not hidden. They're right in front of you. I'll get to the point in a second. It's hidden in your Greek mythology gods. See, as they talk about these, when I read these books, see, this Enoch is probably the rawest form because it says watchers. It says angels. But one thing I didn't know that I did notice in this book, it never personified or it never gave gender roles in here. He, her, just called them by titles. So they talked about they adulterated with the daughters of men and had children. If you think that it was only males that came down here and did their things, some females came down here and did their thing too. And it's hidden in Genesis. Where did these other people come from that Cain was able to go and get a wife? It's in the garden. God made male, female. Where did these other people come from? Where were they? Where did they come from? Because they weren't part of that plan, let us make man in our image and likeness. They were the people that came here to help basically terraform this planet. And not so much terraform. They came down here for resources. That's why they talked about onyx and gold and silver in Genesis. So I think it said the gold was good. Places like the Grand Canyon was a major mining camp. So yeah, they talk about they came down, got with the daughters of men. But it was it was more than just that. Because the reason why I said it's hidden in your Marvels and your DC. They show gods in the male and the female perspective throughout history. If you look at these places where they had they were polytheistic. And it was always a masculine and a feminine. Even in the African concept where they say life began, it was a male, masculine and feminine. Right. They needed the resources to build ships. They needed that gold. That gold was was helped them power their source. So their technology needed that gold. Needed that copper. Okay. And as you can see, they had superior technology. And they knew what certain elements did to the body. Because years ago, what was your water pipes made out of? Copper. And they trying to get rid of them, and they want to put that plastic, that PVC in so you could drink plastic. And dumb you down and kill your pineal gland. Before, they was drinking copper. The other scam they have ran, I remember years ago they used to try to say some kids were slow because they was eating lead paint. We got to get the lead paint out of the paint. But lead, now I don't know anybody that was eating lead. They made assumptions that kids was eating. Nobody was eating no paint chips. Never seen that. It was just talked about. But lead, if you had lead walls, lead paint on your walls today, guess what? All that EMF radiation, all these wouldn't be able to get through, and you would be protected. Yes. So they had to get rid of it so that they can spy on you. So people said, some came from Mars. That's possible. Resources, but they actually come from a whole different system. They came here because this planet was called the Green Jewel, and it was, I told you long time ago, the Earth and the Moon was part of the planet until they had that intergalactic war. In Genesis, we call it the war that broke out in heaven between Michael, the archangel, and Satan and his demons. And he said, cast him down to the earth. That was a ship, big old ship, cracked the planet in half and caused it to spin off. And then due to gravitational forces, the moon is held where it is. And then they had to replenish the earth. Even the Bible talks about it. They had to redo everything because life was destroyed. There's one big void, wasteland. See, from the Christian's perspective, that was the start of life. No, that was the restart of life on this planet. And in the process of them restarting life and rebuilding things and getting things back together, certain group of individuals there got tired of being controlled. And they said, we're going to go and mess with this creation and pollute them and teach them the things that they shouldn't know. And then we got chaos from that. Because when you really think about it, right, you say God all-knowing, and he had to know whoever he created was going to rebel, right? And then you have to ask yourself, why would God create beings to rebel against him? See, it's so many questions that come out of just that. God is perfect. He's all perfect. So he created beings that will become imperfect. And see, all these questions come out of that. But then when you start to realize that there was some test tube regeneration going on. I know I'm going deep, deep, deep.